Hey y'all, I'm Elizabeth K. Wine, founder and executive director of Music Export Memphis. Welcome back to the Export 101 podcast, where we're digging in on all things touring with Memphis artists. I'm so excited to have Alicja Trout with us on the podcast today. Alicia, welcome.
Thank you.
We, Music Export Memphis, have funded some tours for one of your current projects, Sweet Knives. And I'm personally also a fan of another of your current projects, Alicia Pop. But I don't know Memphis music without Alicja Trout. So why don't we start with just give us an overview of all the bands, take us back and kind of on the journey to where we are now.
Well, I would have started in the late 90s, maybe mid 90s. And honestly, it's been a while, so I don't really have it down to the year. But one of the first bands I was in, it was originally called Spitshine, and then it changed to the Satyrs. We did some releases on a local label where I actually believe I did my first solo record under the name Mouse Rocket. And then Mouse Rocket was another band I did, but the first band I ever did on an out-of-city record label with distribution was The Clears, and we were on Smells Like Records, which was Steve Shelley. Still is Steve Shelley's label. And so that was the first band that I went on tour with.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I think the other bands I maybe played like dates in Nashville or Little Rock, Arkansas or something like that, New Orleans, but never did official tour till The Clears.
Yeah. And so how long has Sweet Knives been around?
Sweet Knives possibly started 2016 or so, just to be like a Lost Sounds reboot of the songs that I did in Lost Sounds with my friend Rich, and who was the drummer of Lost Sounds. But it's basically turned into a totally different band of all originals. Of course, I do always in my set incorporate a few older songs, and now because I've jumped around so much in so many bands, just because the idea was I had a bunch of different style of songs, and I could play with different configurations, bands with 3 people, bands with 4, bands with 5. Now in my current set, I toured with in Memphis, we're called Alicia and Friends, and that was just the band that Music Export helped get a grant to Europe, and we do songs by Sweet Knives and songs by Lost Sounds and songs by Alicia Pop and River City Tanlines songs and a cover here and there. So now I was just like, okay, I'm going to just consolidate.
Yeah. Celebrate the whole catalog.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so I always like to ask our guests on this podcast to take us back to your very first tour that you ever went on. And let's just talk about that a little bit. Good memories, bad memories, lessons learned. What was that like?
Yeah, the first tour I remember going on would be with The Clears. I remember having a great time. I remember showing up at shows with very low turnout, but we were still in the phase of everything was new and this place is new, and we really liked the people we were touring with. And we had a lot of fun. And I remember one of the first experiences, which now I'm very used to, but was getting on different stages and it not sounding at all like our practice room.
Yeah.
And you're hearing, your band members through monitors, or you're not hearing them at all, or you're not hearing yourself at all. And that was just something I remember. But I just remember having a lot of fun, just visiting different cities, and I still had it in me to like everyone have matching crazy outfits and dressing up and doing our makeup, because The Clears was like the new wave where we had analog synth keyboards, and it was just a funny looking band.
Yeah. So, I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking that's 25-ish years ago.
Yeah, that band had a record out in 1997.
Okay.
So,
A
yeah.
little more than that.
Yeah.
Is it still fun? Is touring still fun?
Well, touring is work to me now.
Yeah.
And touring in the US is work. But it really just depends the group of people that you're with. And for me, I've just really enjoyed my last couple tours with the people I was with. And also because I'm a mother, you can have days where when you're trying to balance everything out in your home life, where you're just being pulled in so many directions so many
Yes.
times. And so on a tour, you get to like do a much more linear focus, and you get to chill out and just have like, my mission is this for the day, and my mission, and then for the night, your mission is like to get enough sleep,
Yeah.
and to find healthy food, but mainly it's just to play the shows. And so I enjoy it for like a different reason. It's not a new experience. I don't luckily there's no smoking and stuff in the clubs anymore. It used to be
Yes.
like you just got immediately feeling sick and stuff, but I enjoy it in a different way because it's not like a new great experience. But another thing about touring now, having done it so long, is when you go back to a city, you get to see, number one, how it's changed, and number two, you get to see people that you've been seeing that you've known for like 25 years, and it feels like a really good way to see all the people that you've met along the way on your journey that shared a similar journey.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So you've obviously toured with a number of different configurations of your own band, and over the years, I'm sure it's been a mix of DIY and then having maybe a booking agent or any other team members. I know you've worked with a couple of different labels. Not sure how involved they've been with the touring aspect of it, but let's kind of break that down a little bit, and just in terms of your experience, how they compare, right? And, what are kind of the pros and cons for you of doing more of it yourself versus maybe having a booking agent or having somebody else who's involved in some way supporting the tour?
Well, I guess I've always done everything myself because that was sort of the what I was stuck with, which goes down from all the recording and the mastering and the booking and the making the posters and the mailing everything out. I have had a booking agent before who was a big help. We'd hired some publicists before and they were never really a help, so we had to do the publicity ourselves, which sometimes seems like the last couple tours I didn't do any publicity. And I don't think there was any difference. so I was like, okay. But, when before we were touring before internet and posters had to be in person, you'd actually mail them to the clubs and hope they would put them up. And one of the things that, you could look at it as a good thing or a bad thing. I spent a lot of time doing like the busy work, and there would be days, there are days when you do nothing musical and nothing creative. You're just working on booking, and there's so many changes. You have to be, you have to learn to be a really flexible person, because someone's going to call and say this date doesn't, you're going to book the whole tour around this one night in Stockholm, Sweden, and then all these other people are like, can you shift that around? I can't do this, I can't do that. And if you could just come this other day, and you're trying, you come up with the ideal route tour, and then it just doesn't work out. And you have to be willing to like take all the no's and take all the you got to change this around, and I got to do this all by myself, and to just like keep plugging on through it and not take any of it personally. And you're just working out, balancing it and weaving till you finally get your tour. And then next thing you know, it's the first day of your tour, and next thing you know, you're home again after your tour, and somehow it all happened,
Yeah, somehow it all happens. Well, so I want to talk about how you've thought about developing markets, and at this point, I mean, you were saying that about going back to places and that that you've been playing over the years. At this point, are you really playing many cities that you haven't played before? Are you
Mhm.
still thinking about developing new markets? Or are you kind of like, I've hit a lot of the map, so let's just continue to go back to these places where we know we've got an audience?
Well, I think that at this point, I would be more into just going somewhere new that I had never been before.
Sure.
But when we went to Europe, they do their own promotion. I was just like, do I need to do anything? And they're like, as long as you send the band photo, whatever, they're going to do it all themselves. They have a different outlook of it there.
Yeah.
And so every show we played there, like they were smaller scale, not all were smaller scale venues, not the weekend ones, but the weekday ones were smaller scale venues, and they had like a complete packed to the shoulders turnout because and I just was hoping for that because I just didn't have enough time to involve myself in all the promo. So I guess there you just depend to have the right people that they find the right people, and you just hope. But for going to for like some of the tours, I want to go to cities that are tried and true, where we
Mm-hmm.
know people, or we know we have a comfortable place to stay, or we know it's safe, or we know we just love the city. And then in other instances, you might be like, well, I really want to get to this place because I've never been to this place before, played this before, and so because especially with when during the COVID shutdown, all these clubs got destroyed. And so it's the time now where new places have popped up. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a lot of new places to discover, and cities have altered, like when a long time ago you used to play New York City, and now nobody really, somebody in a band my scale doesn't play New York City. You play, where New Jersey, or you play,
Hoboken.
or
Yeah.
you play, Queens or something. It used to
Yep.
even be, it shifted to Brooklyn, and now you're even beyond Brooklyn. And so it's interesting if you want to take it as like a cultural mapping and of the cities. And then, of course, you get to play some small town, and you're like, where are we? Why did they book us here? And then, it turns out, oh, there's like 60 kids who are dying to see some rock and roll band,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. When you're kind of doing the promotion yourself, what are your go-to tools? Do you have like an email list you've developed over the years? Are you mostly using social media? Like, what does that look like for you?
I really haven't kept up with doing that, and I'm kind of glad I didn't, because on the email list, because there would just be so much. I don't know if that's the way people want to connect anymore. But I did start different Facebook groups and different, and then that was what I originally did, was like for each band, or a
Mm-hmm.
page for each band, and do the promo there. But it was right about the time that I did that really the shift was to Instagram. So I started individual Instagram pages for the bands, and then like I would just sit down one day and try to click all the other bands that I thought
Yeah.
that we were in connection with, or the
Yeah.
venues, or the record stores. So more like, less of individuals. And then in your main Instagram, when you're tagging a tour, or the other band members are tagging a tour, you rely on that. But I just so you do rely on social networking a lot to get the promo out there, but ultimately you're relying on the club. And I've put some ads out there before through Facebook. I knew someone who worked at Facebook for a while, and I think they granted me a certain amount of free promo stuff that they
Mm-hmm.
were given as an employee and weren't going
Yep.
to use. And I don't know if it helps. You can do a market. I just I would say the most foolproof plan is to find a venue that's going to promote you.
Yeah.
And you will end up doing your own posters. So one of my favorite tools for that is to have Photoshop, which now is no longer you have to pay monthly for that program, or whatever way you like to design. You're saying design it by hand, but you will end up having to print posters and send them off. And
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to talk about touring as a woman. So in the bands of yours that I can call to mind right now, I can't think of a band where there's another woman in the band. Am I right on that?
I've toured several times with Lori McStay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yes, but most of the touring has been with all dude bands.
Yes. So, what are things that you feel like you've had to think about differently, or experiences that you've had that you feel like are different? And just really kind of what advice would you give to female artists that are watching this, who or listening to this, who are, getting ready to go out on the road for their first tour? What feels different hitting the road in this way as a woman?
Well, it kind of depends on your age. So when I was younger, you end up staying. It's just a lot more DIY, and you're in these, like, I don't even know if this is how kids are in their 20s or 30s tour anymore, but you'd go to these rather disgusting, stay at these pretty disgusting places. So I always brought like a sheet and a washcloth and some earplugs. Earplugs are kind of a new thing. I just stuffed toilet paper in my ear. But now, but it didn't, like, by the time I hit about, I hit my lower 30s and actually was touring with the Tanlines guys, who were just a couple years older than me. They had all these friends that had like houses, and they would be like, "Oh, we got a special room just for you, so you can get away from the boys." And I'd be like, "Yes!" So I got some privileges there, and then another would be when you'd arrive at the venue before the venue's open, if you're on time. But if you're like, I got a bathroom to myself for a little while because the boys are going to the other bathroom. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't really found true drawbacks to being female. Sometimes it's hard to get a place to, like, if you have a particular like hair routine or makeup routine or something. But I always worked around that, just carry that stuff around me and with me, and very, keep your luggage incredibly minimal, and, but no, I haven't found too much of a, I mean, for the most part, sometimes they you get a little special treatment sometimes with, back in a longer time ago, I felt like the sound men kind of ignored me and would always sound check me last, but that really changed over time. And then I think there used to be like sound men used to be like kind of in a club of some sort of a different time and decade, and that really changed over time. So I and having a female in a band is a great way to get more people, more of an audience, because I think it just invites more. If girls come to your show, then boys come to your show, and if boys come to your show, girls come to your show, and it's just kind of yeah.
So over this long history of touring, like, what is, sometimes I ask for like one piece of advice, but I wonder for you, like, what's just one big thing, if you can think of one, or you can do more, that you do differently now. And that can be on the planning side. It can be actually when you're on the road, but just from learning, being out there, going out with multiple bands in the US and Europe, just how do you feel like you're different as a touring artist now than when you were young?
Well, I definitely factor in hotels, where before we would just save the money on a hotel, and now I'm just like, yes, we're going to a hotel tonight. It's going to be nice. It's going to have free breakfast. And in fact, safety is really important to me, where that wasn't as much of an issue. I have always taken safety of our instruments, like, back in every year that I've toured from the beginning. And that is really, really important, that you don't decide one night to be lazy and not haul all your stuff inside.
Yeah.
Or go out of your way to find somebody who can find a safe parking place for your van and your stuff, and then never take a risk, or a club that'll let you house your stuff there overnight and you come back and get it in the morning at noon or something. So I think that's whenever I hear about, of course, I'm completely sympathetic when I hear that a band got robbed. It's terrible. But I always just think like never, never, never get lazy. Always move your stuff inside. If it's 3:00 in the morning and you have to get up 3 flights of stairs, move your stuff inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure before I let you go that we make sure everybody knows where to find you, where to find all your music online. So give us the scoop. Where can people go?
I'm all over the place with my with how many bands I've played in. So that's a little hard. I do on Spotify. I have made some playlists that if you looked up like Alicia Trout, you could find a smattering of different bands which could connect you. My music is on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And if you're looking for the digital version, but I also keep a Bandcamp page. There are Bandcamp pages for my bands that are by the record labels, but this is separate, and it's just Alicia Trout. Maybe it's Alicia Trout Music, and that has like 1 or 2 or 3 obscurities from all different bands that I've played in. And and then I'll also put my things that I'm, like my little home recordings that won't be released, or my home recording version of a song that was later released up there. So the Alicia Trout or Alicia Trout Music Bandcamp is a way to like get a overview of all the bands I've done, but also I have some different playlists. If you searched on Spotify, if you just searched Alicia Trout, you'd find some playlists that had a lot of different of my bands. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. And anything you got coming up that you'd like to plug, or where folks can appreciate your art?
Yeah, so I don't have any. After some touring this summer, I am shifting focus for the winter on my visual arts, which I really. I actually have a master's degree in fine arts, and I put that on hold to do music. And I think I graduated in the late 90s, 97 or 98, and so I had my first solo art show sometime this past year, and I have another one coming up. It's not solo, it's with my mom, who is a watercolor painter. She's 86 years old, and she still paints every day.
Amazing.
And we are going to have a show in the Crossdown building at the lobby outside of the Church Healthcare Center.
Awesome.
Church Health Center. Yes, so that's going to be the weekend of the first full weekend of March 7th, 8th, or 9th, and I'm not sure quite yet when the opening is. Yeah,
Okay.
It should be up for a
We'll
while.
throw the details into the information with the podcast wherever folks find it, so that
Awesome.
they can check it out. Alicia, thank you so
Yeah.
much
Thank you
for being here. I really appreciate you. Awesome.
No, thanks for having me.